Alright, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. For this video, I wanted to do a pretty positive video and kind of highlight two of the guys, one guy from each category, open bodybuilding and classic physique, that they didn't win the show, but guys that really impressed me the most. Guys that I think did surprisingly well, and guys that I think have an immensely bright future in each of their respective divisions. So I'm going to start with open bodybuilding. I think by now you guys know who my pick for open bodybuilding is, and that is Good Veto. Good Veto, Vitaly Ugonikov, making his Mr. Olympia debut finally. Really impressing by placing top 10 at his Olympia debut. Out of every single guy that made their Olympia debut this year, he placed the highest, placing ahead of Behrooz Tabani, Jordan Hutchinson, Urs Kalasinski, Regan Grimes, Rubiel Mosquera, Sasarati, Chenlong Shen, Dorian Haywood, Akeem Williams, and Brett Wilkin. The only guy making his Olympia debut to crack the top 10 this year. And I think he really delivered the goods. We saw these updates of Good Veto going into the show, and I started to say, okay, some of these updates that we're seeing from Good Veto at like a couple days out, they look like some of the more impressive updates that we've seen from anybody. The detail and size of his legs, the condition that he was in. He looked like he was really going to bring it, and that's when I started shifting my prediction. I had him in 8th in my prediction video, and I thought maybe he could place even higher. He placed 10th, so about 2 placings away from that. But I thought he just absolutely nailed it. This was one of the better Olympia debuts that we've seen. I think Martin Fitzwater probably is going to hold the record for one of the most impressive Olympia debuts of the last several years. But Good Veto, man. His legs look crazy on stage. His V-taper looked insane. His conditioning was good. His size seemed to hold up pretty well against the open Olympians. And he's got some of these poses, like, we all know the front double bicep is probably his most insane pose. His arms look crazy in this pose. His legs look crazy. It really shows off his V-taper well, the width of his lats from the front, how small of a waist he's got for how crazy of legs he has. It's just very, very impressive. From the front, Good Veto is a very dangerous bodybuilder. He's got that X frame that very few people have. Then you look at him in the abs and thighs pose. To me, you know, if he came in a little bit sharper condition, a little bit drier through the midsection maybe, and a little bit, maybe even a little bit drier in the quads, this is one of the more impressive, I think, abs and thighs in the pro league right now. When you look at the size of his legs, the detail in the legs, the deep separation and the feathering, the detail in the midsection. He's got the obliques and the serratus dialed in. He's got deep separated abs. He's got a very small waist going up into very big, wide lats, a great taper in the abs and thighs. You look at the upper arm above his head, the arms look insane. Just overall, head to toe from the front, Good Veto looked very dangerous. I feel like in some of the side shots, it fell apart a little bit. I feel like he could have some more fullness and size to his chest and like the side chest pose. And I feel like he also has some work to do from the back. I mean, if you look at the back double bicep, I think he still needs some density in that mid to lower back area. I feel like he still needs to work on a little bit how he hits this pose. I still feel like he hits this back double somewhat awkwardly and could maybe lean back a little bit more. There's got to be a better way for him to hit this pose. I just don't really like how this pose looks for him. But if he's able to bring up the back to match the front, because his back lat spread actually looks pretty good, but if he works on the back poses, adds a little bit more density, a little bit more detail to that back double, a little bit more size and volume to the chest and the side poses, he's going to be very dangerous. This was a hell of an Olympia debut, a young guy. And honestly, I think he really deserves this credit because of all the most hyped guys going into the show, we talked a ton about Urs Kalasinski. We talked a ton about Rubiel Mosquera. We talked a ton about Behrooz Tabani finally being able to compete. And we talked a ton about Good Veto, and Good Veto was the only one of them to deliver a top 10 result. And then, you know, I think when you look at the call-out that Good Veto was in, if this were a call-out at any other show, this would be one of the best first call-outs you could ever hope for. But this was for placings 5 through 10. Martin Fitzwater, Nick Walker, Tonio Burton, Brandon Curry, William Bonac, and Good Veto. That's a hell of a call out for him to be in. And honestly, in some poses, looking the best. I think maybe the front double bicep, you could make that argument for him. But you've got, what, 3 Arnold Classic champions in this lineup? Nick, Brandon, Bonac, and 5 top 10 Olympians in this lineup. Nick, Martin, Tonio, Brandon, and Bonac, multiple time, I should say, top 10 Olympians in this lineup. But for this to be the call-out that he ends up standing in at the Olympia, I think is extremely impressive. And I think you can make a case for him in several poses looking better than some of the big-name guys, like Nick Walker, for example. And I think in the future, as he brings up his back, as he brings up his chest, maybe comes in with a little bit of a drier look, I do think that he is one of the newcomers that can be a top 6 guy. I think eventually we will see Good Veto crack the top 6. I really do. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What do you think the future holds for a guy like Good Veto? How much do you think he could move up? Do you even think he could potentially win the Olympia someday? I think he's got a great structure. He's got a ton of muscle. He's proven that he can condition that muscle, and that's important. This is one of the things that I said a lot. Comparison between Good Veto and Neckzilla. Neckzilla has some of the freakiest legs in terms of size that we've ever seen, I think maybe in bodybuilding ever. But the difference between him and Good Veto, where I think Good Veto is a lot better than him and why I think Good Veto has maybe the best legs, is they're huge, they're gigantic, but they're separated in a deep way that Neckzilla has really never achieved, even at the shows that he won. So to be able to come in with legs that size, with that type of separation, insanely impressive to me. And I think that's why he's a much more exciting prospect than somebody like Rubiel. Now, the other guy from Classic Physique that really impressed me, top 5, 5th place placing, after placing 11th last year, Nyall Darwin, One Punch Naz. Now, I've talked about him a lot this year. I was really impressed with him at the Tampa Pro. I was really impressed with some of the physique updates that we saw of him as we got closer to the Olympia. And one thing that I keep saying about Nyall is the midsection, the V-taper. One of the smallest waists I think I've ever seen in Classic Physique. One of the most insane V-tapers that I think we've ever seen. Just a beautifully aesthetic physique. And I think what you'll notice when you look at the footage and the pictures of him from the Olympia this year is he's added some size. And with that size, he has not sacrificed or added an inch to his waist. Crazy tiny waist, giant lats from the front. Like when you have lats visible like that from the front and a waist that size, it's just insane. Just perfect symmetry, proportion, everything about his physique. When you say, does somebody have an aesthetically pleasing physique or not, this is like the definition of aesthetically pleasing. You look at this guy's physique, it's just pleasing to look at. This is what flow is. This is what an aesthetic structure is. Like his physique is so good. And we noticed that at Tampa, and it looks like he's put on size maybe even from Tampa. But I think he was really the surprise for me in Classic because I thought he was going to do well. Like I said, he was 11th last year, and I thought maybe you could make a case for him cracking the top 6. But moving all the way up to 5th, being really in the mix here, I think is massive for him. I think it was surprising. I think it was deserved. And I think he was like a showstopper, man. I think people watching this Olympia saw him on stage maybe for the first time, maybe if you haven't watched the Tampa Pro or whatever, and he was a showstopper for them. They're like, wow, who is this guy? He looks fantastic. And I think this is a guy that as he progresses in his Classic career, if he can add a little bit more size and still not sacrifice that midsection, not sacrifice that V-taper at all, if he can add a little bit more, maybe becoming a little bit drier, a little bit harder, I'll say it right now, I think he's going to be in the top 3 next year. I think at the rate that he's improving, if he continues down this path, I think he can be top 3 at next year's Classic Physique Olympia. This is a very classic physique. I love his look. And I wanted to make sure I give him the spotlight a little bit, him and Good Veto both, because I feel like, especially with Classic, Ramon Dino winning, that became the overwhelming big story of the Olympia. And then prior to that, you had the Mike Sommerfeld height controversy. So I think everything else outside of Ramon and Mike got overshadowed a little bit. And so I feel like this is a guy that did really well, brought a really great look, really improved, and I feel like he deserves some recognition for that because, again, that front lat spread I think is one of the best I've ever seen. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Who were your picks for like the 2 standouts, maybe most improved, maybe best debut, most surprising? If you had to pick one guy from both open bodybuilding and classic physique, who would those 2 guys be? Let me know in the comments below. That's going to wrap it up for the video, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon if you have not already. And as always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.